Be sure you check out Maya the Malamute, A Spark of Courage. Really great book from a huge Hawkeye fan, Jeff Knight, and his courageous dog. Great story. Maya now visiting children over in the Children's Hospital above Kinnick Stadium. It's a really cool story. So you can check all of that out over at mayathemalamute.com. We appreciate the foundation being a part of our coverage here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. And might this be the wrong night to welcome in this guy, Tyler Kluver of the Up Walk-ons, because as everybody knows, Tyler has built himself a little empire over at Up Walk-ons. And if there's ever a time to catch me when I'm rusty, it's end of July when we're coming off a long off season. So Tyler, you may not get me on my best of performances tonight, but it's a pleasure to be here with you.
I'm excited. For those that listen to our show, you're more polished than I'll ever be on my best day. It doesn't matter. So I'm rusty 100% of the time. So we're all good here.
Well, folks, here's the deal. Part of the rust showed itself earlier. I saw somebody was already ripping me for being late, which is fine. But call in line is sort of down in a sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to run off StreamYard. So folks, if you want to join the show, very easy to do that. If you're new, just click on the StreamYard link in the description. I'll also, if you're technologically challenged, I'll throw this link up in the chat as well. And if you want to join Tyler and I, ask a question. Tyler said there's nothing off limits. So
facts.
I don't know if does that mean we're going to get a call from Drake Kulik tonight? Is
great.
If Drake's out there and he's listening, feel free to call in. Apparently this, we're going to go rogue. So again, just thank you for being here, Tyler. For people that don't know, you and I kind of went to school together. You were a year older. And of course, you were an Under Armour All-American long snapper at Iowa. You were the infamous polecat play, which, I don't know if that's what made you famous or your reaction to the polecat play that made you famous, but you've had some great success, and now you've built this platform, Up Walk-ons, you and Drake Kulik and Kevin Ward and everybody that got that started. So that's sort of the background of how you and I know each other. But I was asking you before we went live, because you and I have not really talked since high school or even, well, I'm trying to think that would have been 10 years ago now, 10 plus years ago for you. Longer. You're a 30-year-old now.
Yeah, 31 this
talk
year.
About that in a little bit. I'm a year away, but what's it been like transitioning from life in college at Iowa and now think it's been over a decade, and you've got your fitness venture, you've got congratulations on the birth of your second child now. I understand you and Lauren, right?
Yeah.
Lauren. So congratulations to all of you. Just what's it been like over the last 10 years going from college to being a two-time dad?
It's a lot different, man. It's life, you kind of look up and it's just like, how did we get here kind of thing. When you're in football and it's a full-time job when you're doing it, you wake up and every thought / effort, I mean, you're 100% of your being, if you're in it the right way, is dedicated to football. Even the schooling side of things is built around, every semester, how do I schedule my classes around practice to best suit me and get me to where I need to be? How do I, schedule my tutors and I mean, seriously, down to like the building, and like it's all based on football. Like the student athlete really is the athlete student. I think that's becoming more evident with the NIL and all that stuff now. Hopefully I get my back pay on that here in a little bit. Don't know if that's ever going to happen, but it is crazy. I kind of looked at Kevin, actually the podcast that'll drop for us tomorrow. We had an interesting conversation where it was like, man, I don't feel that old, but it was a while ago. I mean, this year, 2025, for those that don't know, we've mentioned it a couple of times on our show, is the first time that our 2015 year will be recognized as like hey, we're bringing them back. And if they're bringing you back, you've been gone a while. So, yeah, crazy. And then, just the life side of things. This all started 1 year after we were done playing. In fact, we're coming up on I think it was like the last day of September in 2018 that we recorded our first episode. Didn't even start the season. Our first episode debuted like week 3 of 2018. We're like, yeah, sure, we'll jump in. We'll start making podcasts. Just a silly idea. Like, yeah, we got stories. We have, inside perspective. At the time, we knew every single guy on the team other than the incoming freshman class. And even then, we knew and saw a lot of those guys around because they were there right as we were leaving. So we had a really interesting sort of platform and basis for the show, which, to be quite honest, I think is the only reason that it ever worked in the first place. Because the production value was bad. We were bad. We still are bad relative to I'm serious when I say this. Like, your show, so well put together.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, but like, I'm serious. I know you probably don't feel. I to some sense, there's probably a little bit of imposter syndrome, or like, I'm not that great when I do this for all of us that do this stuff. But like, when I think about like our show compared to your show, the amount of like, even just like the running little banner at the bottom, you have them planned out. I watch the videos. You're much more well scripted, or at least pre-thought out and outlined in your head when you're going over the recruitment videos.
I'm gonna have this on a cassette tape every morning before I start my day.
I don't know,
line that you just gave me. I
don't know. Like, I'm just a guy, right? We were really, really fortunate to have the platform of, I think we just said a few dumb things on Twitter in the year that we had been out of the program. We got out of that was back when Twitter jail was still a thing. Now the guys can have Twitter and all that stuff, but we weren't allowed. I mean, we could have it, but we just couldn't tweet. So I said a few things on there. Drake, for those that are familiar, very well known to say a few things. And that garnered us some attention. And then we just parlayed that into a show. And Matt Bai, shout out, another Marshalltown guy. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, he older than you. He goes back a little further than you. But yeah, it's just it's a Marshalltown party tonight.
That's scary.
And so, I know. Yeah, that is, we don't want that. And yeah, that was pretty much it. My whole goal after college was to be the fitness guy. Originally, when I was dumb and in college, I thought I'm just going to own my own gym. And then I quickly realized how, as my wife and I got engaged the summer prior to my senior year, and then married 2 years later, I recognized how quickly I cared more about spending as much time with her and our eventual children than I did having the perfect job. And so I kind of have built my life, and I've gotten really lucky. I built my life around how much time I can spend with her and now the kids. And so owning a gym certainly wasn't going to be the answer to that. And I had a couple jobs inside gyms for a couple years. The pandemic hit, and that was right about the time that the podcast had proven that it was going to have some staying power. As well as I had sort of built at this point, online platform big enough that I could take online clients. And so financially, things were barely, but they were just good enough for me to like look at my wife and be like, yo, can I try and make this all work on my own? Like, do you trust me? I'm going to sit here at the house all day and I'm going to figure it out. And I promise I'll make money for us and provide just as you are. 5 years later, here we are. So I've been able to make it work, much to the thanks of the walk-on army, several of which I've seen in the chat over here on the side. They're amazing. They've stuck around. Some come and go. We get plenty of people who try the show or tried the show at one point. Several who love Drake and left with Drake. Like, a lot of different waves of people and listeners to the show. CJ being one of the true, like the real true OGs. Yeah, so now here we are. And then obviously as I've gotten older, 26, 27, kids start to come into the mix. I mean, it's a party over here now, party of 4. And we are, right up coming off of the slow season here where it's starting to pick up. Obviously, Big Ten Media Days last week really starts, I feel like starts the year. I feel like Big Ten Media, if you're primarily a football media person, which there isn't a ton, Goat Wallace. I've got I thought about wearing the shirt, but I threw the hoodie on. I can grab it in a second. I feel like Big Ten Media Days sort of is January 1 of the calendar year for football media. So that's where we are. And this next, the next 5 months gets really, really busy, but it's exciting. And obviously that's why we do it, why we got to do it. And here we are.
So we're going to hop around, jump all around on this show because, as I said to Tyler beforehand, there's a lot of questions I want to ask. Some may be totally, off the handle. And then there are going to be other things specific to this team and this, fall camp and the position that he played. But man, this is a question that has bugged me for, what is this, 2025? I'm losing track of year now, but this has bugged me since at least 2020. And I know we had the COVID thing and you had the summer stuff, and I don't know if we're going to end up talking about that. We certainly don't have to. But what I want to ask you is about the special teams unit from 2017 to 2019. You were a big part of that. And I know Colton Rastetter was a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the trick plays go? By the way, I've asked LeVar Woods this question. I never really get a good answer, right? I never get a good answer because he gives me this crap about how, well, we scout each opponent and we are going to pull it out. And if the look's not there, I don't want to hear that, because here's the deal. You and I both know this. You were there. You were experienced it. You were a part of it. I don't know. I can go back and track it. How many trick plays were run from the special teams units from 2017 to 2019? How many have been run since? What happened? They were all successful. Penn State 2018, 2017 Polecat. Hey, even go back to 2015 when Marshall Kane tried running for a touchdown at the end of the first half. It was a bad call, but it was a pull one out of your hat and see if it works. Yeah. You had the pass to Sam Brinks against Penn State. Did I that one already? I guess I'm missing the 2017 Epinesa pass, right?
Yeah.
Forget about that one.
No.
What happened to all of those trick plays? Why don't we see them anymore?
It's a good question. I don't know. If you don't like LeVar's answer, you're not gonna like part of my answer because that's what I was gonna say. I mean, what he told you the truth, right? So,
but you're telling me that the look was there every try from 2017, especially 2017 to 18. I think there were a couple in 19. Torrey may have tried.
Yeah,
there in 19 or even 20. Regardless, there were a lot of attempts during those years, and almost. Oh, and I'm forgetting that the Minnesota, the long snapper that wasn't you,
Subert to Hawkinson. Yeah,
thank you very much of the end around thing. So, yeah, you're going to say it's the look. You think that they still have those in the bag? They're just waiting for the right look.
So, it's a really interesting question because I think I even tweeted out something about this before last year. Like, this is the year. Like, we're going to come back with the fakes. I will say this. So Chevy Yoda, interesting name, had one against Ohio State this year, but Kirk called the timeout. So this is true. And we've had one or two lined up, at least that I could see. Maybe I see more than the average person. I probably do, but just how I can tell people are communicating and lined up on certain things. We've had a couple called onto the field. They haven't made it to execution, and part of that is you need exactly the right look. And is there something to somehow, some way, like LeVar was just in his bag and we just got lucky with all of these looks where the team was giving it to us?
That's my point. It just seems hard to believe, right?
I think there has to be something like that. There was a lot of luck involved that we just could run those over and over and over again. I think the other part is we did it so much during a 2 or 3 year stretch. I think you could actually back it up all the way to, it was either 2016 or maybe it was my senior year, but it was potentially 2016 where we ran a fake punt against Illinois at the end of the half that Amani Hooker almost housed.
That
If it
wasn't that like a bagel? Wasn't it like 40-0? That's a game that's just
yeah, but like still, like,
my
you know,
memory.
we still ran
Yeah,
it
you
and
ran
it
it. Yeah.
still worked. So I, you're probably right. There probably was 7 or 8 successful fakes that like were huge in a lot of those games, especially the one against Penn State. I mean, we were just going off. I think part of it was we ran so many successfully in a row that I have to imagine these other teams units at 28, 2019, definitely 2020 were
Sure.
like,
Yeah,
this is enough.
I get that.
A
Yeah.
lot of times now, because of that 4-year run, you see the look that we get. They're not giving us anything,
Okay.
nothing. So for a couple years there, teams were just like, screw it, we're not trying because they are getting everybody. And then the last couple years, I think we've had some opportunities. Again, we've seen a couple come to the line. KF calls a timeout. A lot of them go to the line with a red or green. Like you see it. Everybody's looking for the key. If it's there, you go. If it's not, we had one of those that we actually didn't run that we've talked about where we ran out against Nebraska in our senior year with a fake called. We needed a weak side to the right, and they actually like not only lined up like totally against that formation, but then opened themselves up to, if we wanted to, we were trying to flip the call to the left because we had like a 2-man advantage. And we're all looking around like, hey, do we flip the call? Which you don't flip the call. There is one thing you run if you get the green light to run a fake. And so had to call a timeout on that one. And it just hasn't gone their way. And they practice these things 100 times over the course of the week to maybe get a chance to look at it on the line of scrimmage when it comes to Saturday. And if it is not exactly right, I'm talking like this guy has to be down to the quarter yard horizontally left or right in the right position for us to go. And we just haven't had it. Maybe he's gotten soft. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's just I know. So what the outside perspective is, and I don't agree with that. I don't have the perspective that you have because I don't live it. But like, there's going to be the naysayers that are going to hate, and it worked, and now Kirk, he went away from it. That's
it's not. Well, I can shut that down right now. Okay,
yeah.
KF's only say is if it goes in the playbook for the week. When it goes to the field on Saturday, it's LeVar. LeVar's got
but you brought up though Kirk calling the timeout. There may be a time when the head coach
says, sure. If he just totally shuts it down with the timeout, yeah. And he knows it's happening. Right. But 99% of the time, he's given LeVar that autonomy to be like, hey, if it's good, you run it. If it's not, have a kill call or whatever. I'll say this too, we've until last year, and even last year a little bit, we've had this whole offensive thing where there isn't room to wiggle, right? The game we had to play in 22 and 23 was field position, get our defense on the field to set us up once or twice perfectly for the offense to be in their range. Like, it was so cut and dry what we had to do to score points that you can't be
and I was going to bring that up. Like, to me, it makes an easy explanation is 2020 is just weird because it was the COVID year and all that. Big Ten only schedule, yada, yada, yada. And then 21, 22, 23, the offenses were just so bad that there's no room for error. And I could see being a lot more conservative in those moments.
For example, the Polecat, the play that I'm known for, that probably doesn't happen if we really need those 3 points and we're there and it's 4th and 2 and we're like, okay, we're probably kicking that. We need the 3. Yeah. It doesn't happen because we kicked the field goal. Because in the last few years, absent of last year, 2024, I think we've come out of it, and I think we'll continue out of that. We're not messing around. We got it down to I think we were on the 20-yard line when we ran that. It's a 38-yard field goal. We're letting Stevens punch that through for 3 because if the Hawkeyes score 12, we win the game. So, it's that kind of thing but now, the offense, maybe we open up a little bit more. We give a little bit more breathing room. It's really a confidence thing. The confidence to go out potentially. It's like gambling. You never want to gamble with money you're not willing to lose. It's the same thing in football. You're gambling when you run fakes, and you don't want to gamble with potential points you're willing to lose.
Yeah, I think the 1 year that you could put into question was 2020 because the run game was humming in 2020.
Yeah, we had Goodson.
And Mekhi Sargent was really good in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, COVID one of the side effects might have just been that you forget trick plays. I don't know. It could have been a thing.
Actually, brain fog, like LeVar got COVID sometime early 2020, and then he just forgot how to run trick plays.
Well, and I will say the other thing is there's like some preparation there that goes into that too. And that season was canceled. And then all of a sudden in 2 weeks, they're like, oh, wait, but we're actually playing.
Right.
So at that point, they were probably just bare bones. Like, let's just get in as much of the football stuff as we can. We're not going to mess with trick plays this year.
So to kind of sum all of this conversation up, and I think it's been good dialogue. 2020, we can make the excuse of COVID. 21 to 23, and again just the recency with scouting and teams are going to see what happened from 2017, 2018, and a little bit in 19. But then 2020 COVID, 21 to 23, you had the just horrendous offenses, and then 24, you're getting your feet under you with a new OC, and the run game got moving. But so maybe in 2025, 25 now.
This is the year.
Perhaps this is the year where we start seeing more. Now, do they have the person? I had to think whether it was you or what was the previous long snapper's name that I'm forgetting, or the
Subert
guy that came after you, Jackson Subert. Thank you.
Yep.
But I happen to think you guys and then Colton seemed to be a part of that. Like, you can't have Torrey Taylor throwing many passes because the guy he's on record as saying he really doesn't know how to throw a football, right? That's a part of it too, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to say that Coach Ferentz and the staff just looked at us and were like, we got an insane athlete at long snapper. We got to get this guy the ball, right?
Well, I'd love it on the polecat play.
I'd love for that to be the reasoning. It wasn't. I will say after that game, I actually have it as on my soundboard. I pull out every once in a while that Coach Ferentz is on record saying when asked about it, what he was worried about with the polecat, he said, well, I wasn't worried about Kluver. He's a senior. I trusted Kluver. He's got good hands. So I have that saved forever. You certainly have to have someone who can throw the ball, and unfortunately, Rastetter can throw it a lot better than what he showed on my.
We kept throwing off his back foot. That was
and to be fair, he had a backup linebacker for Ohio State in my trick play instance that was like 6'5", 240 running after him.
Yeah.
So,
but the Brinks one too. The Brinks one.
One was great.
Well, wasn't he throwing off his back foot though?
He was, but like he kind of had to drop it in. So it was
a beautiful throw. It was
pretty fair. Probably a better catch by Sam.
I don't know what was better, the throw or the catch, because to have a lineman Sam Brinks,
the catch by Sam on that play is
incredible.
Yeah, that's like a top 5 athletic play in all time history of Hawkeye football. The personnel matters. You got to have somebody that can throw it. You got, I mean, maybe even more so the people who are distracting or have to get the perfect block for the play to happen. You have to have those guys in place. Like, you have to have people on the punt team who can now maybe block or like run an offensive play in some way, catch a ball, whatever. Running late to Culver's night. Yeah. I'm known for Culver's on Sundays. Something happened.
I talk about Culver's a lot on my show as well.
Oh, bro. I mean, I've been trying to get a sponsorship on our show from Culver's for about 3 years. Back in like 2019, there was this NFL Sunday. We were sitting down to watch like Tony Romo and like that afternoon slot NFL game, and we just got Culver's. We're like, screw it, we'll get Culver's. And then the next week we're like, well, what if we just get Culver's again? And then the 3 weeks in a row we're like, we should just get Culver's again, which that kicked off a 5-year period.
Every Sunday, unless we were out of town or we weren't 100%, but like 90% batting that Can I just say something? And I know we're talking about Culver's, and we can get back to football.
Yeah.
I brought this up to Mark Rogers the other day on our show. You've probably done this because it sounds like you're a Culver's guy, but or what's the word? You're a Team Blue crew member. Have you ever had the Culver's pints? I'm assuming you have. You've done the pints.
Oh yeah.
You do the party pack, right? You do the 4 for $12.99.
Yeah.
4 for $12.99 or 1 for $5. Get the 4 for $12.99. You're just unbelievable value there. Anyways, I don't want to put a plug in for somebody who's not sponsoring the show, but they're a Midwest product and they've expanded all over the country. They got to be sponsoring both of our shows.
I could talk. This could be just a Culver's podcast, and nobody wants that, but I would do it. So yeah, I'm all in. The you got to be Hawks by a million. Fly my flag every Saturday. This Saturday, this year, by the way, we're gonna have a HBAM tailgate of the weekend. So everybody who has a Hawks by a million flag, post your tailgate pictures with the flag up. Maybe wins.
That thing really took off when you guys launched that.
Yeah.
That season, right. I mean, I've seen it on game day. I've seen it is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so many things like that have just been luck. I mean, like we've just gotten really lucky, I think, with all the stuff that we've done. Drake said that, I think maybe potentially the first podcast that we ever did, like episode 1, because at the end of our episodes in season, the last 15 to 20 minutes is good point, Courtney. We're getting real close to bedtime. The last 15 to 20 minutes of our Thursday episodes, like the preview episodes, are a betting segment where we just go over the Big Ten lines, the Iowa line specifically, and hey, can the Hawks cover 3 points here, this, that? And Drake at the end with his hyperbole, as always, was like, Hawks by a million. Like, it doesn't matter. They're going to win by a million points. And then people just latched onto it. And it became our saying for a few years. And then in 2021, we had the flag, but then one of our walk-on Army members went to that 2021 Maryland game and got it on the broadcast, like on the TV broadcast, and that blew it up really big.
Okay.
And that was like game, like maybe 5 of the season.
Are you selling these? Did you have a merch store? Then you were able to sell the full size flags. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So I think game 5 of the year in 2021 was we were at Maryland, and we crushed them, and the flag gets on TV and it's getting retweeted all over the place, and people are like, "Where can I get a flag? Where can I get a flag?" All this stuff. Well, the next week was Fox Big Noon Kickoff, Penn State in Iowa City for the 6th game of the year. Everyone knows how that day went. Insane. And before that game, the guest picker for Fox Big Noon Kickoff was Big E, who is obviously a former Iowa football player. We've had him on the show, or actually, did we have him on before or after this? I think we had him after this. But I had tried to send him a flag, or maybe it was before. I don't remember. He drops a Hawks by a million for his prediction on Fox Big Noon Kickoff. And I was like on my way to Iowa City when this happened, and my phone just goes nuts. The store is going nuts. We immediately sell out of our like 53 units of flags that we had. We ended up selling like 2,100 flags that weekend. The sayings everywhere. The t-shirts are exploding. Our podcast in general like took a huge jump in viewership and popularity and sort of like fan base just during that 21 season around the success they were having all the way up to number 2. Really could have used a win versus Purdue that next week because we were riding high. But that's how crazy all the Hawks by a million stuff went.
Again, I promised that I was going to jump around, so we're just going to do that. Before I forget, this is a good point. We do one more thing on the trick play thing. So Dino Chef brings up a good point. I brought up Tory Taylor, and now you've got another Australian punter. So I just wonder if that's a side effect of the Australian punter thing. Like you're just not going to have guys who don't breed confidence in LeVar Woods and or Kirk Ferentz to throw the football. Yeah. Now, there are opportunities. Like there have been plenty, like for instance, you got 6 guys. You're gonna have 6 guys in the quarterback room this fall. I know Drew has people that he's comfortable with holding, and that's important. But at the same time, you have 6 quarterbacks. Why can't one of them become proficient with holding?
Yeah.
Why do we have to have a punter holding for place kicking? That would be one thing I would ask. Maybe I'll get a chance to ask LeVar that question here in a couple weeks, because I mean, traditionally, I mean, I remember the whole Tony Romo. You brought Romo earlier, the Tony Romo fumble that left him out of the playoffs. What year was that? So quarterbacks traditionally do hold the football on place kicking field goal opportunities. So maybe that's something in the cards this year.
The biggest thing for that is they do often hold, and a lot of the reason for that is mostly because they're already on the field, so they can just kneel down, finish that out. They have good hands for holding. They're used to catching snaps.
Yep.
But then the reason why a punter does it a lot of the time is simply because of practice time. And the quarterbacks they have period. Now, if you get a fifth or sixth string, you could probably pull that guy away from the team period or the individual. But a lot of the time they're being used for scout team or this, that, the other. And so for the amount of reps that you really want to feel comfortable, and you can still get plenty out of practice after, before, out of season, all this stuff. But like the guy who's available to hold most of the time when the snapper wants to snap and the kicker wants to kick is the punter. So he just ends up being that guy. But yeah, I mean, I would almost guarantee that 2 or 3, if not all, of those guys in the QB room have held snaps at some point, and are 1 or 2 of them are probably have taken enough reps to be comfortable if like we had an emergency and you had to throw them out there. So yeah, I mean, the other thing is like the other team has eagle eyes on that too.
Sure.
Like a guy runs out and he's like the quarterback, or the first thing we'd ever go about on special teams meeting is, hey, 5:30 special teams meeting Friday night before the game. Like, all right, we're going field goal block period. First thing, Holder's the backup quarterback. Like that's number 1 on the list of like the outline of that meeting. So they know, and they're a little bit more.
It's going to maybe eliminate more opportunities.
More opportunities for surprise, for sure.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like the whole couple of years ago, the whole Cooper holding, and he was, they were trying it out in practice, but it would have been hard to really sell anything with that look.
Yeah, I mean, I just would have given it to him anyway with how good he is. Should have just let him run around.
Yeah. What did you think about? For some reason, this just triggered in my mind. What did you think a few years ago of Sam Laporta taking direct snaps on offense and running offensive plays in a bowl game right before he's set to get drafted like 3 months later? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it speaks to Laporta. I know one of the big things in the media that year was like how he was like, I'm playing. Like, we're not sitting out the bowl game. Like, I'm finishing my career. Really respect him for that. Especially with what he's done in his first couple of years in the NFL. And like, this was his potential. This is what he was potentially throwing away. Now, when you're a football player, and especially a guy like him who's taking hits every game, getting tackled, you're used to it. You're not thinking about like, oh, this one last game is going to be the game that I get hurt. I think everybody like goes back to that Jake Butt situation, like a couple years before I graduated. He was a little older than me. And they're like, oh my God, like he was going to be the top tight end in the draft. He busts his ACL. It actually doesn't really happen more often than
happen that much.
No, but it only gets brought to attention because so many guys sit out so that it doesn't happen, right? Like, it is what it is. But I mean, more than that, like, it was just the fact that we were in that position where we're like, hey, let's throw our starting tight end back there, see if he can drum up any offense.
My biggest criticism.
That's a bad thing.
My biggest criticism to that was you're in a bowl game. You're proving that it kind of matters. It kind of doesn't when you send out Sam Laporta, who's about to get drafted 3 months later, and you have backup quarterbacks that have like Carson kid that never took a snap.
Yeah.
But regardless, you brought up the Cooper thing is phenomenal, and I do think it will be interesting. We were talking about trick plays on special teams. With a year under his belt now, Tim Lester, and I know when it transitioned a little bit more to personnel here with fall camp right around the corner. I will be intrigued to see whether you want to call it trickeration. I see a couple of comments in the chat about the flea flicker. I believe they tried a flea flicker last year and it got stuffed, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong on that. But distinctly remember, because I said the same thing. Like, I haven't seen a flea flicker in 10 years. And then I believe we saw one last year. But I just think there's going to be more opportunity at, whether you want to call it trickeration, but exotics, as Coach Patterson would say, in the playbook this year, especially without a Caleb Johnson in the backfield. And you've probably heard a lot from inside the program, voices inside the program. I'm intrigued by a couple of people on offense. I talked about one the other day on our show with Mark. KJ Parker has turned a number of heads this offseason, but that wide receiver room is as deep as it's been. I think the wide receiver room and the quarterback room, I can't remember a time where I was as confident in those two units. Now, I'm not saying they're going to tear up the Big Ten, but just give me your thoughts on the passing game and the maturation that you expect to see from year one of the Lester era to year two.
Dennis here says it's 0 flea flickers in 9 years, and maybe it's.
No, I don't think that's true.
I seem to think I remember a Goodson to Petrus flea flicker that maybe was incomplete, but they at least tried it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do feel like we've had an attempted flea flicker in the last 5 years. I could be wrong. The passing game, I thought it was interesting that the quote going around, the MSU loss was devastating. Yeah, we still think about that one. Warner. The quote last year about the offensive line was like, and this is KF speaking. He doesn't bullshit. Like, he says things that he believes, and he won't put something out there that is like going to come back and be like, what was he seeing here? And he said, I finally feel like the O-line's turning the corner. Like, I feel like we might be a good O-line. Sure enough. Yep. I mean, we had Caleb Johnson, but
I don't think they were. Let me just say, I don't think they were great in pass pro.
They weren't, but they were.
Numbers would say,
but they were very, very good in the run game.
Excellent on the run. Yep.
And I think that's what he sort of was alluding to. And then he came out a couple days ago and said that about the wide receiving core, and said, kind of how I said it about the offensive line last year. I feel like that's where our wide receivers are this year. And this is. And it's not going to be perfect. They're going to go out there. They're going to miss plays. They're going to not see somebody. They're going to run the wrong route. All that happens for the best teams in every level of football. But a lot of the things that people were like happy about last year, they're running the ball great, but could we get some and you saw flashes. There were some route trees. There were some different concepts from Lester that people were like, Beth Mowens went crazy.
Okay, yeah. Please don't bring Beth Mowens into the.
I don't think anybody wants that. We saw some flashes of stuff, but you heard Lester say it in his press conferences. It's like, we just haven't had enough time. Like, we're only able to install so much of the playbook. The season got there so fast after he was hired, 15 months ago or so. So it's like, they've had an entire year plus to get the entire playbook in, and outside of Gronowski, which is tough that he's only gotten the spring to work with it. But everybody else in the system, a lot of the key players, the tight ends, a lot of the receivers, 3 returning offensive linemen, like, they have now been in that system to where the intricacies that just take a while, they've got it. They've drilled it. They went through a spring ball with it. Like, it's the timing. Another, like, the one thing I'm hesitant, and it's everybody's question right now, is like, well, sure would love if Gronowski had more time throwing to our receivers and all this stuff, but concept wise, like call wise, what we want to run, how Lester sets things up 5, 10, 15 plays before he wants to hit on something, all of that is going to be advanced 1 or 2 more levels this year, and that's going to benefit a lot. I mean, it's really, really weird that Iowa is the only team in the country running this offensive system. They're the only one. And I thought that was mind-blowing when I read that article from, I think it was Lystico earlier this spring. I was like, there's no way that's true. How do we go from the worst offense in college football to like, hey, now we're revolutionary. We're bringing the Shanahan offense to college football. Like, I don't pay attention to college football at large that deep to know what offensive schemes the guy at Florida State's running and all this stuff. I just figured that, like, yeah, there's probably teams out there running this. No. To the extent that Leicester has brought this pro Shanahan system to Iowa City, we're the only ones doing it. There's going to be some advantages to that. And it probably takes a while for those advantages to show up. So I'm excited, but it's, of course, the season of hope, right?
Yeah, I made comments. I mean, we alluded earlier to holding and a quarterback room that, barring something totally unforeseen here in the next month, and obviously there's injuries, but they're going to have 6 quarterbacks on this roster. And I think we determined, I've had some people try to argue this before, but I think we determined that there has not been a year, at least under Lester's in year 2, Brian, Ken O'Keefe, Greg Davis. So during the Kirk era where they've had 6 quarterbacks on the roster. I believe that's true. So if somebody can prove me wrong, go right ahead and do that.
Scholarship wise, yeah, I don't think I was ever on that.
Yeah, Ryan Fitzgerald. So he'd be 5 plus Ryan Fitzgerald. Assuming I don't know that Jackson Stratton's on scholarship now. The kid should be.
He should be,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
But
like at this point, everybody's on scholarship.
You should have been on scholarship.
I was for 2 years.
At the last 2 years, you should have been on scholarship at the beginning. No,
I should have been on scholarship for 1 year more than I was.
You're an Under Armour All-American. You ought to be on scholarship, right? I know that's value, and yeah, I get it, but
I'm not gonna. Yeah, people don't care about the intricacies of like specialists getting offered out of high school, but I don't. It wasn't like crazy at the time that I wasn't.
No, I wasn't. No,
I was the number 2, should have been number 1 ranked in the country. Which you would think like, oh, that guy, the number 1 guy probably has a couple offers, right? And like Eastern Michigan and Wyoming were going to give me a full ride.
Those are good offers. Those are good. I mean, those are good offers.
As a long snapper, anybody's a good offer.
I was gonna say, because I'm not just talking about you. I'm just saying in general. What my point in saying that specialists should be offered more, and there are specialists that get full rides. I mean, there's place kickers that get.
Oh yeah, the next year. Yeah, it was just an Iowa thing, right? Like how for a very long time, the guys who were Iowa's starting special teams, and I can list you back through like the year 2000. They came in as a walk-on.
Yep.
They worked their way in. They gained trust from the coaches. They did stuff in the offseason, yada, yada, yada. And then they earned the trust and usually had to play a whole year and prove themselves before they were put on. That is how it worked for me. I actually had to play 2 years. Our 2015 season that we're about to be recognized for, I was still a walk-on. 2016 and 2017 seasons, I was on scholarship. But then, of course, and actually I think Cornbrath, the punter in the year before me, was given a scholarship out of high school. Every once in a while. Yeah.
I was going to bring up Ryan Gersonde because he was also a guy.
Now, Gersonde,
he was offered out of high school. No.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm actually cool with that because his ability was really, really great. He was just hindered a lot in his career by injury. Tough, right? Like it's just one of those things.
But I'm just saying you have there's 2 examples, Cornbrath, Gersonde. You throw a scholarship to a kid you probably don't normally offer to. And those are the ones that don't work out. I could see from a coaching and recruiting perspective, just kind of throwing your hands up and saying, look, we're done with this. Let's just find a good kid that we can bring in as a walk-on and let him earn it.
And that's what they've tried to do. Mick Ellis in the year after I came in out of Texas, he got a scholarship, right? So they've and you'll notice a pattern there. They when the year is right and they're gonna have a need the next year, or they'll have at least a need for a position battle. They don't have a for sure guy coming back. They'll throw an offer to a kicker or a punter out of high school. Never a long snapper. Danny Olsa, no. Andrew Schultz, no. Casey Kreider, no. Me, no. Jackson Subert, no. Spiewak, no. He was in there for a year in a game. Elkin, not on scholarship out of high school. The Speltz kid, not on scholarship out of high school. They brought in a transfer from like Boston College. He's like a senior. I'm not even sure. I mean, he'll get some money with the NIL stuff. So none of these guys, none of the snappers, Iowa Hawkeyes just do not do snapper scholarship. So it wasn't just a me thing.
But how
yeah,
many are getting scholarships around the country? How many long snappers?
there's a lot. If you look at the top 50 by the Coles kicking ranking
Yeah.
system, you probably see at least half of them are accepting a full ride somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. All right.
It would have been great to accept a full ride, but
Sure.
I valued being in Iowa City more than I did money.
How many conversations did you have with Casey Kreider at the tail end of your career? Did you have any?
At the tail end of my career?
Well, I mean, just thinking about what you want to do after football. Was there? I mean, I know you brought up your size. You've brought up your size before.
Yeah.
I've seen that written that you just didn't feel like your size. You'd been able to transition there. But Casey's had an unbelievable career. Talk about a guy who went from a walk-on status to a veteran NFL career. So it is possible. Did you have conversations with him to kind of pick his brain during that process?
To be honest, probably not enough. So if there's any regret, I mean, there's no regret. If there's anything I would have done differently coming out of 2017 and going into the spring of 2018, I had a lot of good advice, like in trying to pursue, because I was trying to be the next Casey Kreider. By the time I came out and it was our pro day and our draft year in 2018, Casey had spent 2014, 15. He just told this story on our podcast, 2016. I think 3 years going into camp, getting cut. And like in that third year, I believe 2016 with Denver, he was like, he literally texted his wife, accepted a job offer as a science teacher, like in Iowa City, and then got one more workout with the Denver Broncos, and they chose him. Like one day after, like he was giving up the next day. It was one of those stories, right? So he had been a starter in the league for 2 years. And to my knowledge, or at least the way I felt about it, I was like, I'm just as good as Casey was, snapping ability wise. I'm a 4-year starter at a Division I program. Even as a specialist, that doesn't happen a lot. I never messed up to the extent that like it's a check mark that someone's like, nope, you're out. Like no chance for this guy. And so I just kind of thought like I'd get a chance. And then the time came around and I didn't really talk to Casey a whole lot. Not that would have, it would have mattered a lot more if I got an opportunity. Like if I would have been brought into a camp somewhere, he would have been able to provide me a lot. And at that point, I probably would have reached out to Casey. But as far as like the process goes, I basically like trained, I put on 25 or 30 pounds in the course of 2 or 3 months to get from 5'10", 215 to 5'10", 245 by pro day. I couldn't go up, so I had to go out. I had to grow somehow, and did everything I could on my pro day. Still to this day, like Kevin, the co-host of our podcast, was standing there as I was running my reps and doing my stuff on pro. I mean, I put up 22 reps on bench. I ran a 4.92, which is pretty good for a fat long snapper. I ran a 3-cone drill time that would have been third best time any position group at the combine that year. That's including safeties, corner. Like I ran a 5.10. Like all my times were insane. The combine scouts literally sat there and were like, "Man, we love your long snapper. He's balling out. We just wish he was bigger." They said that. Like,
why is that a problem?
They have this idea in the NFL, and it's true that that you need to take up space. Like you're going to have a 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", 240 to 260 pound edge rusher / linebacker that's trying to run through your face to go and block a punt or block a field goal. On field goal, you have 350 pound nose tackles who are going to run through you. So you need to be a big guy. I believe I could have got the job done with what they needed in that area. They did not believe that. And to my, I guess to make me happy, but not, it's been confirmed. Other than John Weeks, who I believe is now with the 49ers, but was with the Texans for like 14 or 16 years as a long snapper, the only guy in the league that's under 6 feet tall. And he's been in the league for almost 2 decades. There has not been another guy to break through that's had a 5 in his height. At the long
snapper. You're a real 5'10"?
5'10", yeah, 5'10 and a half.
5'10" and a half with your shoes off.
Yeah. And they just want you to be 6'1" or 6'2" and 245, 250. And I wasn't that. So, but also the more I get out, like I say all that, and like the more I get away from it, the more I kind of think like, if I was good enough, they probably just would have, like, somebody would have called, right? So I think it could just be that.
I'm going to take a couple shots at you here in a second, but to your credit, like you said, I don't recall any mess ups.
There's a few, but not.
Was it Michigan State or Northwestern? Was there a bad snap in one of those? My memory, sometimes I latch onto things and I'm like, oh, do I remember a bad snap in one of those games?
Yeah.
I remember weird things. Was there a weird snap in a Northwestern game?
Yes.
Why do I remember that?
Yeah.
So was that your fault or was that someone else's fault?
The bad snap. I mean,
was it a high snap? Was that what it
was? It was a high snap that was at basically the crown of Dylan Kidd's helmet.
That's okay. All right.
Dylan Kidd
it slipped off his hands.
Dylan Kidd was looking into the sun.
Okay.
I sent him a high ball that would have been caught right here. That's a bad snap in our world. It went through his hands and skimmed right off the top of his helmet, and he had to chase it down and fall on it. That snap is one of probably 5 in my career that I still think of that I'm like, oof.
But that's how good, and not just you, but that's how good Iowa special teams units have been for the last decade plus.
Yeah, they're insane.
I can recall a random bad snap from, that period of time 8 years ago. So yeah, I mean, if you're not being noticed, then I don't know what else you can do other than, hey, show off your ability after the catch. Polecat. Ability, yards after catch.
Wasn't enough.
They say if you get somebody open in the open field, just get them the ball in the open field, right?
Yeah, I got a few tackles in college too, like down on punt.
Yeah, I
thought my athleticism would play some kind of role in being considered for the NFL, but it wasn't in the cards. It's okay. I'm past it. I'm way past it.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's
like Drew.
My dad is not. My dad to this day, like when the NFL season rolls around, he's like, "God damn, you should be out there. There's no reason you shouldn't be snapping for the Seattle Seahawks." But yeah, it wasn't meant to be, and here we are. I'm podcasting.
Was the 2017 poll, and we're going to go to a quick break after this, but was the 2017 Polecat trip, was that the turf monster? Was that a cleat issue? Was it just balance? What was it?
Yeah, it was if Kluver scores, he's NFL material, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I didn't trip. I think that's what people get. That's how people describe it, or that's how people. I mean, that's the easy way to.
It didn't look like you tripped.
To say what happened, I just got twisted around. Like, the first thing you have to understand in that situation is how fast my heart was beating and how much adrenaline is going through my body. Right. Also, what my job was on that. So I had to create distance.
Yep.
Off of a delay, because if I snap that ball and immediately run, I draw attention.
Not working. Yep.
Right. So I had to 1 count in my head. Now that one was probably very quick if we actually were to go back and watch it.
Oh, it was a good one. It was a good delay.
I had to delay to make it look like, oh yeah, he's just snapping it and standing there. The guy across from me bites as he did. And then at that point, it is my job to sprint. I'm 20 yards out. I'm snapping it off the 20. And if you think I'm not thinking I'm scoring this thing, then you're wrong. Like I'm scoring that. So I sprint out as fast as I can in my little 4'9", 240 long snapper body. And I look back, I locate the ball. And when I find the ball, I can see it in the air. It's like slow motion, like a sports movie. It's like slow motion. Da-na-na. And I'm looking at it and it's not coming to me as fast as I would like it to. So
it was behind you. I mean,
it was very behind me.
You. So
what I had to do was I looked over my right shoulder. So I had to stick my right cleat in the ground and almost like toe tap drag it to slow me down. Because if I don't do that, I'm not catching it. So I basically almost completely turn around to catch the ball. My forward momentum is now fighting against what direction I'm turned. And yes, in reality, I could have probably just settled down, gathered myself, turned around, and then restarted. But I tried to run out of my twisted position, and running out of that twisted position got my upper half too far out in front of my lower half, and I just couldn't regain my footing underneath. I didn't trip over the line. I mean, tripping over the line is the fun thing. Yeah. I mean, I lost balance trying to basically make sure I caught the thing. So
That was
it is
about
what it
as
is.
scientific of a response as you could have expected, but it did set up a pretty iconic play with
The best play. Yeah, and Nate, and still to this day, the funniest thing that's ever happened, like 3 years after the fact, is someone mentioned that play or retweeted it on Twitter, and I quote tweeted it and said, "Nate Stanley still owes me for setting him up for the best play of his career, throwing a touchdown to Hawkinson in the back of the end zone with a guy drug like the next play." And this is some random day like in the offseason, like maybe 2021 or 2022 spring. Like he was in and out of the NFL. We're 5 years out of our career at this point. And I get a Venmo from Nate Stanley that says, "Thanks for that touchdown pass." After he saw me say that he owed me. So pretty great.
That is great. Okay, folks, I promise we're going to talk more 2025. We are going to talk about the season. We got James. We had at least a caller or two drop off, so I apologize. James, you're next in the queue. If anybody else wants to hop on here, ask a question, get involved, you certainly can. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in less than a minute with Tyler Kluver and myself right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core, click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. We appreciate Iowa Floor Covering and Tyler, Ryan, and the guys down there. We need to update that ad. I've said that for a while, but it's been a lot longer than a year and a half they've been with us. And speaking of long partnerships, we also want to give a special thank you to our guy, Randy Engel, down at Under the Kitchen. I have not showcased his website before like this. So let's show off the website for just a second. If you're new to the show, Randy's got awesome Hawkeye prints available over at Under the Kitchen down in Mitchellville. But this is his website. You can see a number of awesome signed prints. The Riley Moss All-American signed print on sale right now. You see a number of others on sale. Luke Lachey, Lucas Van Ness, Spencer Lee's mixed in here as well. Aaron Graves. So many different prints to choose from. And one thing that Randy wanted me to mention is Stephen Buchanan and Angelo Ferrari will both be joining him at the Hy-Vee at the Coralville Lantern Park Hy-Vee on August 17th, 3 to 4 p.m. And so you can either buy a print here at underthekitchen.square.site. The link is in our description. Super easy to check out and to buy these awesome prints. Or you can get a signed print from one of those current Hawkeye wrestlers. Again, Angelo Ferrari, Stephen Buchanan. And yes, by the way, he does have a Caitlin Clark Indiana Fever print up here in the top right-hand corner. So check it all out, underthekitchen.square.site, and head over to the Lantern Park Coralville Hy-Vee on August 17th, 3 to 4 p.m. for signed prints, and I'm sure you'll be able to get a picture with your favorite Hawkeye wrestling stars. And Randy will be at FryFest once again. So FryFest in late August with Randy Engel of Under the Kitchen. All right, let's add our good friend Tyler Kluver back into the mix here. And I see several comments that I had kind of placed on hold. Before we get to those comments, let's add in James because he's been patiently waiting on hold. James, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Doing good.
First off, I want to say Kluver. Obviously, I've been watching Washed On for a while. I washed up for a while, but it's cool to have you on, and it's obviously cool to reminisce the play. Obviously, the win more important, obviously, than the play, but it's just cool to reminisce having you on here and watching you play. So I just want to say it's an honor to have you on here. But first question I have about this year is just like, how do we feel it's gonna be? Because like I feel like this schedule is tougher than some people think, some people don't. I know some people don't think of it as tough, right? But like you don't know what Indiana is gonna be like. I know they're good last year, but can they keep up the same consistency? You get what I'm saying from last year to this year. I don't know if they're gonna be the same as good a team as they are, if that makes sense.
Um,
But like,
that's a fair question. In year two, we saw the dip in the Tom Allen era. I think there's a different, clearly based on how Curt Cignetti talked to the media here this past week, there's a different level of confidence within the program now that I think has lacked in Bloomington for quite some time. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Tyler, you got thoughts? I think the quarterback situation's unique. Obviously, Curtis Rourke was huge for them last year.
Yeah, quarterback matters a lot. That last year, something like that is, again, one of those things where it's like it almost felt like our 2015 season watching that happen. A lot of things just happened to fall into place, and then similar to our 2015 season, the question was like, well, have they played? Who have they played? Right? Like, who do they play? I actually don't know what their schedule looks like this year. I think it'll be very, very hard for them to repeat what they did last year, regardless of their
there's
schedule.
one still in there.
But
Yeah.
still, I think they'll be good. I think Cignetti is insane, and he's a good coach, and he's got the best quote of all time. Is like, Google me, I win. And I appreciate the kind words and you following along with the Up Walk-ons. I don't know if it's an honor to have me here, but I'm here.
Can I just answer your question real quick, James?
Yeah.
I'm happy that game is in Kinnick.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I kind of agree with you to an extent. I don't know that I don't think they're going to go 10-2, but I could see that team being a solid 8-4 team, even with the difficult schedule. So, do I have confidence in Iowa beating them in Kinnick? Yes.
Yeah.
That game were on a neutral or in Bloomington, different story. So yeah, and it's also a late September game. I think Iowa will, if they can get past Iowa State, they'll most definitely be 4-0 heading into that one, and then they get a bye week before that game up in Madison. So, yeah, it's kind of an underrated game on the schedule, and one that, was it 2021 when Indiana was coming off the phenomenal COVID year season, and there was all that hype around the Iowa-Indiana game in Kinnick. We know what happened with the 2 pick sixes from Riley Moss. So, yeah, they'll be motivated there'll be a lot of naysayers around that program. There were naysayers all the way through the playoff last year, but that's going to be a tricky game in the schedule, no question.
Yeah, for sure. And what's your guys' thoughts? Obviously, I know this level compared to FCS is different, but obviously, as me and you have talked, Corey, and you know that I will follow you and I pretty much, so I know how tough the MVC is, right? It's one of the best conferences in the FCS, right? It's probably the best conference in the FCS, right? So the Mark transition, though, is going to be kind of an interesting thing, I feel like, too, to see how Mark Gronowski plays, because of the fact of, like, coming from that level, you play really good competition, right? But that's not the Big Ten. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the Big Ten anyway. So, like, you can play at that level, but that's not playing a Big Ten defense every week. So it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of grows in this system and how he plays with the weapons he has around him.
Yeah, do you have any thoughts on that, Tyler? Just the transition, especially without having a full spring where he's live action?
Yeah, it certainly would help if he would have been able to go against the Iowa defense in the spring. He's going to get to go up against a lot of those guys in some of the out of season, what they call skills and drills in the summer, and then obviously during camp. So in Iowa, I just saw what's his face, some guy that actually ranks these teams and does a lot of this stuff on Twitter has Iowa as like the 10th best defense coming into this year, right? So that as your opponent, that as your welcome to the Division I level or the FBS level is plenty for him to see that in camp, see that in summer, those kinds of athletes. And I would argue as well that there are a lot of the teams that he was playing, a lot of the difference of what football is at certain levels is the line play.
Yeah.
He's playing a lot of these DBs that he played against in the FCS level are quality guys that probably just got overlooked or somehow didn't find themselves at the FBS level. The counterpoint to that is that, like, yeah, he's going against those guys, but now he also has a team full of Division I Iowa Hawkeye tight ends and running backs and linemen and receivers that all increase the speed and increase the value of what he can do and maybe open up potential. So does that just counter him going against the Division I level now that he has 10 Division I FBS guys on his side as well? I tend to think that there's just not a lot there. If he comes out and, like, against Albany and certainly against Iowa State, Indiana early in the season, and he looks bad, yeah, I mean, that's going to be the thing. Is like, wow, this guy just
if he comes out against Iowa State and looks bad, they're probably going to lose.
Well, they're certainly going to lose, but then the entire narrative is going to be like, okay, this guy was great at the FCS level, but it's just this is different.
I mean, I think the bottom line, and James, you've heard me talk about this, that's the best conference in the FCS. And so they're playing the best teams at that level. They've been competitive. I mean, we saw them. I know that South Dakota State offense wasn't great. That came in and challenged Iowa a couple of years ago, but that was an Iowa team that went 10-2. They came into Kinnick and gave them everything they could handle. They did play Oklahoma State last year. South Dakota State did. Competed okay. I think that game was in Stillwater. Lost to North Dakota State in the FCS semifinals. I do think some people underestimate how close the best teams in the FCS are to even some of the mediocre to average teams in the FBS. And that's why you've seen some of the best teams in the FCS, namely North Dakota State, South Dakota State, UNI, Montana State, challenge and even beat FBS teams. It doesn't happen maybe as much as you'd think it does, but a lot of that's because teams in the FBS don't want to play those teams. So I think that he had good players at South Dakota State relative to his competition, but they were also going up against good teams. Those are good teams in the FCS, in the Missouri Valley.
It's not that I'm saying he can't do it either. I have faith he can do it. I just see a lot of people saying that. But I also kind of wish maybe we started off with a better game, obviously, than Albany, because, like, maybe for him it's a little too easy, you know, and then you have to go up against a defense like Iowa State in week 2, right? And you're playing a defense that's not very good in week 1, right? And then you get into that sucker punch of, like, okay, things are going good, but obviously we're playing Albany, right? And then you go and have to play a Big 12 school after that. So I kind of wish we would have kept the FAU game a little bit, just because FAU's not great either, but it's still a little bit better of DB's better secondary than what you probably playing against in Albany.
Yeah. Well, Gronowski's not like Tyler said, he's going to get camp, but
Camp's going to be more. Yeah, Camp's going to be more valuable to him than the Albany game.
Yeah.
But there is a facet of getting out there in front of 70,000, right? Like you can still kick some rust off the shoes against Albany, right? I mean, it's not
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's he can kick the rust off of that in-game live environment that you can't get in practice. But as a relative to, like, going against the talent, the speed, the break timing that a good to great secondary would look like, something that would prepare you for Iowa State, that's going to come from the camp side of things. And hopefully the combination of those two things leading up into that Iowa State week is enough. It sounds like more than any of this, he's a gamer. Like he's just that guy. And I think when you're walking into Jack Trice Stadium in the Cy-Hawk rivalry, especially with the pedigree that he carries, he's won more games than most guys have ever even been on a roster for. So I think that carries more weight than, can he do it at this level? Can he not? That is going to be the question. That's the fun thing for people to talk about, especially the detractors, like, oh, but can he do it at the next level? Yeah. I mean, nobody knows until they go out there. But the coaching staff sure thought so.
There is something comforting, and Tyler, I don't know if you agree with this, but to me, there's something comforting in knowing that even though Hank Brown wasn't great when he started for Auburn, and, Jeremy Hecklinski's still young, but he was, a nice recruit for Wake Forest at the time, and the Warren Ruggiero connection, and Jackson Stratton started against Maryland last year. There's something comforting in knowing that they have several guys who have started major college football games. So I'm not saying you're going to have a quick trigger on pulling a guy like Gronowski, but
yeah,
I think 2 years ago, that game in Jack Trice with Cade, and Cade was not healthy, but they didn't have any other options. And so,
I mean, when it comes to depth, we're just so. I mean, even last year, we're rolling with Brendan Sullivan and then Jackson Stratton, and like after Stratton actually started that game, and you're going into the last few games, but then we had the Cade snafu, whatever. You're sitting there and you're thinking like, wow, we're in such better shape. We actually have a second string, and like you said, you're right. Like now we have like 3 or 4 guys where you might actually feel comfortable throwing them out there. You obviously don't want that to be the case. Like I don't want to see anybody else but Gronowski, and I want it to go perfect all year. But if we can upset Oregon, Eric, that would be great. I'm going to be at that game. So that'd be sick.
So to just final comment on the schedule in response to what you said, James. I've said before, talked with Mark about this on our show. I like the makeup of the schedule just because I think they have a good opportunity at being 4-0 heading into Indiana. And then I like their chances against Indiana, and I like the timing of the bye week. Now, some of this is going to be anecdotal, but it seems to me, recent memory over the last 10 years, they don't do great out of bye weeks. Like it doesn't seem to go real well, especially when they play Wisconsin out of a bye week. But Wisconsin is not the Wisconsin of old. So, and Iowa beat them last time they went up to Madison. So, yeah, I mean, you get Penn State at home, you get Oregon at home. The trip out to the LA Coliseum is daunting. Okay, just especially given what happened against UCLA out there last year. I think the Michigan State game is daunting because I think it's a mismatch. It's a matchup problem. I think we saw some of that last year. I'm not saying we're going to see a repeat with Aiden Childs. I'm sure Phil Parker will have his guys ready, but there are some just natural things stylistically that I think give Iowa problems with that Michigan State offense. And then at Nebraska is difficult. So I just think the first half of the season, you have an opportunity to pile up some wins prior to your first bye week. And then if you can knock off Wisconsin on the road, maybe you carry that momentum. That's going to be a tough latter half of the season.
It's a stretch. That's a stretch. I mean, specifically Penn State through, yeah. I mean, those last 6 games, it's a stretch. But
could lose any of them. Could lose any of them. I mean, could win.
You could lose any of them, and you could win. You could likely win 5 out of 6. You're probably not gonna.
You're probably not gonna rattle off 6 straight. But are we? I don't think any of us would say it'd be crazy to think they upset Penn State in Kinnick.
No,
I think that will happen. But
no, people, and they're due. They haven't upset a top 10 team or a top 5 team in years. So it would be a great time. That Oregon game is going to be really, really cool. Penn State game as well. I don't, again, with what happened at UCLA last year, don't love the trip back out to LA to go play USC. I do like that it's an earlier time slot. Because last year, we played at like 6 or 7, which was like 9.
It was a Friday night,
and it was a Friday night, so it was a short day, short week.
Yeah, that was a
so I think it's slightly better against USC. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, at that point in the season, it's a lot about what's already happened. Like, have they built momentum? Have they figured things out, or are they still looking for answers? You never know.
I actually think they'll be better against the run this year. And I know that sounds crazy because they're losing Jay Higgins, Nick Jackson.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to be better up front against the run, James. And so they got torched on the ground against UCLA and obviously struggled. They didn't just struggle. They did not contain Aiden Childs at all in that game. By the way, Eric in the chat says he had his 15 minutes of fame in Marshalltown. So whatever that means, we appreciate you being here.
Must have bowled a 300 at the Totem Bowl.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think it's a Totem Bowl anymore, Tyler.
It's not, but it was when we were there.
A long time. Anyways, James, anything else?
Yeah, I got 2 more, and then I got one for like the team question,
okay,
and then one for Kluver before I get off. First off, for the team question, he was talking about depth. You're talking about depth at quarterback. I feel like this is one of the most depths we've, other than tight end. I feel like this is the most depth we've had on offense in a while, right? Because like wide receiver were what? With names that we know personally were what, 7, 8 deep, right? With like, I'm talking about like KJ, you know, as a name, Jerry, you know, as a name, Dane Howard, you know, as a name, right? Not like saying they're great players, but we know those guys' names who have played some snaps, right? Like, I think this is the most depth we had at that position, and even adding Sam Phillips to that room too. So I feel that's something we don't think about too, is that we have the most wide receiver depth we've had in a long time.
I think that, I think that's sort of what Coach France was referencing when I talked about it earlier. That they just have a lot more confidence in that room this year.
Top 3 receivers right now, Tyler. You want to take a stab at that? See if they align with mine.
Man, I don't know if he's a top 3 receiver. I really don't even know how he fits into the offense. But Weechin, like I feel like he's going to have a extended role. I don't know if he's a top 3 receiver. I really would love to see Vanderzee come out of his shell this year. Flashed early last year in the non-con, and then kind of just settled into like, oh, I'm a freshman.
Dealt with some injuries, but
other than that, like I really like the Howard kid.
That's a name. Yeah.
Receivers not my. I'm not like most of these guys. Like and as much as people might think I do, I don't have the inside information either. So I really don't know.
Obviously, Gill, I think he's probably your number one of who everybody would pencil in as the number one going into the year.
I tend to think it's going to be Jacob Gill.
He's good.
Sam Phillips is in the top 3, and I'm starting to, and maybe I'm buying into the scuttlebutt that I've heard over the last several months. I'm starting to buy into maybe KJ Parker's part of the top 3. Now I don't know what that looks like though, because then I who's your prototypical X that everybody thinks you have to have this tall guy out there? Maybe they just don't have one of those guys. I think Peyton Howard's an option. Vanderzee's an option. But I just keep hearing things about KJ Parker, and I really like Sam Phillips. I thought it was interesting. Gronowski took, I believe, down to Texas, he took Sam Phillips. James, you probably know this better than I do. Sam Phillips, KJ Parker, Gill, and there might have been one other guy.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Seth Anderson.
I think it was Seth. I think it was Seth. It wasn't.
So, but yeah, man, his speed. And, I joked around earlier, Tyler, at your expense about, ability to, get the ball in the open field and make something happen. But that kid is unbelievable with the ball in his hands in the open field. You figure out a way to get him involved on the offensive side of things. I would think of all people, Tim Lester would be able to do that. And I also, I go back to my comments when he initially got hired. People can praise John Budmeyer, and I'm not going to take anything away from John Budmeyer. But Tim Lester came in here as a former quarterback who had an acumen and a history of breeding smaller receivers and making them great.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked if, like, Sam Phillips is 5'9". I wouldn't be shocked if he has a big year. I wouldn't be shocked if KJ Parker, who's like 5'11", has a big year. I think he's probably going to be a lot more involved, or has been a lot more involved with that room than maybe some people think.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, my bad. One more thing I was saying about that. I think this is the kind of the weirdest tight end room we've ever had, because I don't know about the depth behind the two, obviously, with Ostrander and Ortworth are haven't played. You don't know what you have behind them, right? Like,
well, they're not. Well, I think we saw last year, Tyler. They're not running as much action to tight ends in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're alluding to there is this offense and the tight end it's not anymore. Like
it doesn't look like it, at least when you're in, right?
And who knows? Like Ortworth and Ostrander, I think are really both great talents and recruits out of that era of like, hey, we're tight end you. Lester's not going to use them or involve them as much as Brian did. Is that a good thing? It's probably a reason why our tight ends were so highly touted and had so great numbers and were so well known, is because they were kind of the only way we could get the ball out in passing. So we probably needed to come down from them a little bit. Will we not use them enough now? Are we going to swing to the other side of the pendulum? I don't know. I think that, like you said, the depth is weird, but I think with the two that we have and the system that we run, it's probably enough.
Yeah.
All right. One more question I got before I get off. I'm going to ask Kluver this question. Of the Big Four rival games, obviously you're an Iowa kid, so this might be an easy answer for you. But the Big Four rivalry games, which one was more important to you? So Iowa State, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska.
Yeah, my head says Wisconsin. Like I always felt like it was Wisconsin for us, and that was just because we only got them in 1 year, and it was just barely due to a crazy fumble on the goal line, 10-6 game, 2015 Wisconsin. They seemed like they always had our number, but my heart every single year, and this has become more evident as I've gotten away from it, is Iowa State. There is something just deeply rooted inside of me, and I'm not even like self-proclaimed. Like I'm not the biggest football fan, sports fan. I played it. I like sports. I do a show on it. I'm not like the guy who's got 6 TVs going all Saturday every day, or all week. I'm watching Maction at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. But the rivalry between Iowa and Iowa State, and the idea of them beating us, or like watching that game finish on TV, and I'm somewhere as like a 28-year-old, and people know I played in that game, and they're like, "Oh, I wonder how Tyler's feeling at the Iowa State." Like that, it eats at my core. So it's the Iowa State game that is probably the most important to me. And with how the schedule and just how things go, like it's the first one, so it kind of sets the tone. Always is a bit of a tell, and yeah, it's all nerves and just on edge every time. 3 hours when that ball kicks off every September.
It's good to talk to you guys, and enjoy your night.
Thank you,
You
Jake.
too, man.
Well, sir. Yeah, the Iowa State game, to me, that's always been the game that, as a fan, just hate to lose.
Yeah.
Not the most damaging. Not
No.
the most damaging.
No, it actually means
a lot less.
I would argue, especially now, it almost means nothing in the big picture.
Well, it's not for playoff position. Here's the deal, and I said it last year. Even getting to Indy last year, I remember saying they can probably go 10-2, get to Indy, if maybe 9-3, and be in the conversation if one of those losses to Iowa State. I did the same thing this year.
Yeah,
because it's early in the season. I'm not saying that they're going to look the playoff committee is going to look the same as an NCAA tournament committee would, but typically early season losses are maybe weighted a little differently, and it's on the road against a good team. It's not going to hurt them as it relates to Indy. So they could potentially, if we're going to have that conversation about Iowa getting to Indy this year, I don't know how reasonable that is. I do think the Big Ten's more open than it typically is. That game is a little less important than the other rivalry games.
I look at it this way, like there's nuance to it. If you lose to Iowa State this year, and like that hurts, right? It hurts. They're a good team. At least it's not like when we lost to them in 2014 and they were horrible. They're a good team now, consistently. But if you lose to them and then you like open up the Big Ten and you beat Indiana and Wisconsin, and then you knock off Penn State, like if you beat Penn State and Oregon at home, I promise the national media isn't going to care at all that you lost to Iowa State in September. The ranking number is not going to show that. The hype is not going to show that. Everybody's going to be talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes, the 5-1, 6-1, 7-1 Iowa Hawkeyes, and they're going to be like, who'd they lose to? Oh, Iowa State. Well, early, out of season. They're a decent team on the road. Yeah, they've got something going in Iowa City. Like people would be absolutely all over Iowa if that was the case. Now, you get into the conversation like, well, what if you only beat one of them and you lose to what if you lose to Indiana and Iowa State, but then you get one? It starts to get a little bit muddy there. But the Big Ten is where you make your money. Like if you want to really get to the big goals, you go win your Big Ten games. The Iowa State game, it won't matter, but it does matter.
Yeah. I want to ask you about AJ Epinesa because you were there. I'm again, my memory is not as good as it was 5-10 years ago, but you were there when he came in as a true freshman, right? Correct. Yeah. That was 2017. Yep. Would have been when his true. So I'm asking this question because I've had some people accuse me of kind of overlooking Yosei, and I'm not trying to overlook the kid, but he didn't enroll early. A lot of kids are enrolling early now at Iowa, which they didn't used to. So he just got there, and I'm not saying he's not going to play. But like, go back to AJ's freshman year, it was pretty limited how much they used him.
Very.
So what do you think for a kid in Yosei who was just as highly touted as AJ, if not more? What do you think his usage will look like in year one?
That is tough. I agree with your earlier sentiment that we're going to be stronger up front. I actually pulled up the depth chart, so I don't look like a total asshole here. So you know, on the D line right now, which really is like the most rotational position group there is, right? You have to have 8. And you got Llewellyn, Graves, right? On this website, they have Pittman and then Herkett, Jonah Pace, Merriweather,
Bryce Hawthorne, the South Dakota State kid, I think he's going to play a lot.
Hawthorne, Hawthorne is on there. I mean, you've got some dudes. We're not necessarily lacking, right? If we put him in there and we're rotating him in there a lot, it probably means really good things, because to replace Herkett or Llewellyn, who are studs, to take them off the field, like that's the question we're asking. Like, is he good enough to take away reps from those guys?
Well, Llewellyn especially has been, in general, a pass rushing guy.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, has he developed into, we expect him to be an every down guy.
Yeah.
So a safer play against the run. And then would Yosei then kind of filter in, like you said, I don't know what that would look like. I don't know, like on third down, Raider package looks. I don't know if you would have Yosei in there alongside Brian Allen, Herkett, and Llewellyn. Are those your 4 best pass rushers in that situation?
Maybe. Certainly could be in there on a third down package, like a Raider package. It will very much so depend. I know that position is such a feel position. Like, hey, let's give him some time in camp. Like, what is he doing in camp? Does he present and sort of show that he's just got this knack to get to the ball, right? There is no more primal, like just simple position than D-line. It's just go get ball most of the time, right? There is some gap stuff in the run game where you have to, especially inside, where you have to know what you're doing, or you could mess up the entire operation, or at least make it very hard for the 2-second levels. But yeah, I think it would be great. I think the ideal situation is 22 reps impressive. Yeah.
Thank you, D.
Yeah. That's about the only thing I could do is bench.
Aaron Graves, I didn't mean to just, are we taking him off the field on third down? That's the other, those are good problems to have.
That's what I'm saying.
Discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it would be awesome if he was like good enough to play, but we're talking about some guys that are dogs. Like, we're not in a position where like, oh yeah, he's good, let's try him out there. We're not losing anything. No, like we are losing something if we take one of those other guys off the field. So if we do that, if we rotate him in just to provide, and sometimes it's like, you know, you got 2 guys going across from each other, Herkett or Llewellyn's going up against a tackle all game. And the tackle, you know, sometimes they just get a feel for what the guy's doing, what move he's going to throw here. You throw Yosei in and he's just got some different stuff. It's like bringing in a closer, you know, somebody to save the game in baseball. Like, yeah, it's just something, you just get a different look.
Yep.
Maybe. I don't think he doesn't play, right? But
I think he could. Here's what I think. I wouldn't be shocked, and I don't know if I hope for this or not. I wouldn't be shocked if they utilize his 4-game redshirt thing. And
I wouldn't either.
If he's going to be as good as AJ was, he may not make it 5 years. He probably won't make it 5 years, but no. I could still see Iowa running him 3 to 4 games, get his feet wet. But since he didn't get here in the spring, and I do think they're more experienced, and next year you're losing Graves, Jonah Pace is out of eligibility. I believe Pittman is out of eligibility. I think. Don't quote me on that. I know he's just listed as a senior. Herkett's gone. Llewellyn's listed as a senior, so I think you're losing a lot.
Yeah, we're going to be hurting.
So they're going to need Yosei, and they're going to need Devin Kennedy, and they're going to need, you know, Chima and all these young guys that haven't really seen the field much. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them get his feet wet. Why not?
Man,
is there a way you can use?
Oh my
I'm not saying
God.
you utilize him like AJ in the trick play. By the way, that was a nifty little one against Michigan State in 2017.
Yeah, another one.
Forget about, because wasn't it later that same drive that you had the weird fumble from Nate
Yeah.
along the goal line?
Yeah.
It was a big drive.
That was a tough game. That was bad.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. You're right. Look, now that I look at it, the amount of production we're going to lose next year, there's going to be some serious questions going on.
Serious questions there. Serious questions at linebacker. Even though some people think you got, I don't think you got questions this year. I think you're going to have questions next year.
Yeah,
when you lose Harrell and when you lose Shire, there's just a lot of youth. Yeah, some talent there. Same at defensive line, but they're going to look a lot different at several positions.
We're gonna have to hit the portal hard.
Hit the portal, yeah.
Wow.
Okay. At some point, we're going to have to wrap this thing up because Tyler's got to get to bed. He's a 30-year-old dad, and sleep is of the essence.
I'll be up again in 3 hours.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Nah, probably 5 hours.
Okay, so I guess my big thing that I wanted to do before we signed off, and if there's anybody else that wants to chime in here, you can. I want to run through these comments that I had starred, and also ask you about two other positions that I had noted. We've talked about quarterback, we've talked about receiver, talked about defensive line. People seem to like the cornerback narrative right now because Iowa struggled at times last year. You lose Jamari Harris. TJ Hall was really up and down. Deshaun Lee was up and down. You bring in the Barrows kid from South Dakota. And Phil Parker's unit as a group, not just a cornerback squad, but as a group, a lot of people would say they underachieved. They were still good. But with Higgins and Castro and these guys, they weren't as good as maybe some people expected, namely UCLA, Michigan State, down the line. So what does the back end of the defense look like? Do you have confidence in the defensive back room, or is that the weak unit on defense?
Man, I think it is the biggest question mark. I think this team, this group specifically this year has they have a, how do I say this? Like a target on them because they know the reputation year after year after year after year of that room for the last however many years, right? And then last year they come in, we got Wampa back there. He's a 5-star, like, all this stuff. And then Iowa State game, we just get cracked. And the guy's running down the field. And Troy, that guy who's now at Penn State.
Yep.
That guy cracks us for 2 long touchdowns and a punt return, by the way, which I'm sure people in the special teams room are not happy about. And there's these little, not even little, there's these things that starting to show up. They're like, wait, so like we can't, like we had Cooper DeJean, we had Riley Moss. Like when we're on defense, you're an Iowa Hawkeye fan. The Iowa Hawkeyes are on defense. It's time to go get a hot dog. We're good. We're good. There's nothing exciting is going to happen now. They might get a first down here or there. Bend don't break. We'll stop.
Better chance at an interception or a pick six.
Yeah, I might come back from the concession stand and we have the ball because we picked it off or caused a fumble. And then last year it was like, ooh, there's some cracks in the armor there. They're not great. And what's funny is like I think the defensive numbers ended up being still like top 25 or 30 in the country. You're like, oh man, we took a step back. We're only top 80th percentile. But they have some questions. I mean, you look at TJ Hall and Deshaun Lee, and you're like, I don't know, is one of those guys really a stud? Are one of those guys getting drafted this year that I don't know about that they're just on the big boards? Because
yeah, I think TJ Hall has probably the best upside because of his length. But yeah, neither one of those.
They've got maybe the body, the frame, the potential, but where's the production? You know, like we just don't have.
Phil will be quicker to pull the trigger to Jalen Watson this year than he has in the past.
And the Barrows kid from the portal, I like depth and I like a veteran, but we'll see, right? I feel really, really good. I actually do think that Wampa, and maybe it takes to a senior year, but he finally has like that year.
He's got to take a step. He's got to do more than post Ponchero's ads. Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, just live up to the 5-star thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And I think our most talented guy is Entringer. I think he's
agreed. Yep.
I think he's an NFL guy.
And I think it says wonders that Kirk took him to Big Ten meet. I know
Oh,
it was
boy.
all the leadership. I know that's what Kirk said, and I'm not saying he's a liar, but regardless, I think it says something that the leadership, that the players would vote this young guy who's hardly played as a starter to go to the media.
I mean, all you have to know about that is you go back through the list of, just go back every year and look at the 3 guys that go on that trip.
Yep.
And just take a look at their production, how they were viewed on the team. For him to be one of those 3 guys, I was honestly shocked. Like, how I know Gronowski's brand new, but like, there's a lot of options there. Logan Jones makes sense. He was like a lock, right?
Ethan Hurkett makes sense,
and Hurkett makes sense. There's a lot of guys after that you could take. And when you look at him, I look at him similarly to when Dane Belton first started to get on the field on some special teams plays, which Cohen, special teams guy in the Big Ten championship. I mean, he gets talked about all. I think the clip comes up on social media every 2 months. It's like him running the guy down on that punt or whatever. That's an NFL. I mean, that's a guy who's about to make $30 million in the league. I mean, he is. You talk about guys who are built different. They're that guy. The guy on the playground that you're just not beating him in anything. It doesn't matter. Like, if that guy would have showed up at Fisher Elementary in Marshalltown, there would have been problems for everybody else.
Fisher Elementary.
So yeah, that I like him. I feel better. And maybe this is just like hey, it's your last chance. There's no reason to not be, very good about Wampa. I feel solid about the corners. Another year, more experience. I think that's sort of yet to be seen. And yeah,
Are you worried at all about Cash?
A little bit. I think Lutmer will be good. I think Kalarick actually will be good. I think we're okay. But we thought we were okay last year too. And then Wampa watched that guy run right by his face, and we're all like, wait a second. Are we just a liability in the secondary now?
I wonder if they'll, and I don't know that Jalen Watson's big enough to be a Cash guy, but I wonder if they figure out a way to get him on the field regardless of how,
and they will,
upperclassmen play.
Yeah, they will too. Like, that secondary kind of deal is, especially when you're talking about the Cash and you've got some flexibility as far as like body type and speed and how they play on the second versus the third level. If there's a guy who can just get it done, like he's just a football player physically, he will find his way to the field. It's kind of how Cooper was, just a guy. I mean, you could put him at, I don't know, put him at the end, put him at rush end. Cooper would have excelled at nose tackle if we would have put him there, right? It's a joke, but if they've got a guy lurking in the 2s and the 3s in that secondary, I've heard good things about that Alex Moda kid. He's got a frame on him, so who knows?
He hasn't been a DB all that long.
Well, DB is a weird thing where, sort of that Josh Jackson type deal where just out of nowhere they just start to get it. And it's the most athletic position on the field. Like, it's just, if you're an athlete, you just start to have a couple things click, you can be a really good DB. So we'll see.
Yeah, I won't be shocked if Jalen Watson ends up being a starter at some point this year. I've heard good things about Rashad Godfrey. There's another one name just to throw in the mix there that surprised me when his name got brought up. But there's a few. Well, before we get to our chats, I got one more position, running back, because that actually was one of the questions in the chat. ZJ brought up Moulton starting and Jazz Patterson being the 2 guy.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else on the rise? Xavier Williams is a kid that looked really good last fall. I know in camp, he's a guy that flashed in front of the fans at Kids Day. He's got tree trunks for legs, so he's intriguing.
Love that.
Brevin Dahl is a guy that I've liked ever since he broke his leg in high school. Like, his pure
stud.
speed. Yeah, and I know he was working out at Summit receiver. It sounds like he and Terrell are back to working exclusively at running back.
Really?
So those are the guys that I would think if there's anybody else supplanting Moulton or Patterson, it would have to be Terrell Washington. And I'm not saying supplant. They're going to play several guys and guys get hurt. Terrell Washington, Xavier Williams, maybe Brevin Dahl. Am I missing somebody in that mix?
No, I think that's your 5 right there. I don't think it would be very hard pressed to say that like we're going to have another Caleb Johnson. You just don't have those guys, right? I don't think we're going to have that top end. I do think we may be a little bit deeper this year. I don't know anything about the Xavier Williams kid. Again, that's one of those deals where it's like, I don't pay that close attention. I've heard tons about Brevin Dahl. This Terrell Washington Jr., I feel like he's a wild card. I feel like he could be, and he was doing a lot with the wide receivers at one point as well. He might let's just get him the rock, right? Let's just see what he can do. And I think we're really, really solid with Moulton and Patterson. I think those two are like our 1-2 punch. And, maybe not the ceiling of Caleb Johnson, but man, we've had some flashes. Both of them have flashed like they've got potential to hit a home run every once in a while. And if we can just supplement that with, Jazz at one point was kind of like our third down back. He'd catch it out of the backfield. Like if Terrell Washington's that guy or Brevin Dahl's that, like they're all going to find their role. I do hate that we had to replace a coach there. There's a little bit of continuity. We lost a
really good coach,
a very good coach to the NFL. But I think we'll be all right. And again, that room with 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys who were all in the system last year in year 1, now get year 2 of the same system. I think we'll be really. I have no worries about the running back room. Nobody clip that, please.
My biggest worry is what you said, just the change mantle with coaching. I got a lot of respect for what what Liddell did.
Yeah.
On the recruiting trail with the continuity in that room, guys not leaving. Like that was one of the biggest things. In this
I'm shocked that Jazz Patterson is still a Hawkeye.
I mean, yeah, Jazz never left. And, Kamari, hey, guys leave after 1 year.
Yeah.
Because they have great, but Liddell created a family atmosphere within that room, and it'll be interesting to see if the next guy does the same thing.
For sure.
Nate McNeil's another trendy name. He's a freshman. And then I guess if we're going to run through every running back on the roster, Fred Jackson's son is on the roster, Braden Jackson from Ankeny Centennial. So
we'll take genetics.
We'll be interested to see how that room turns out. Okay, few comments in the chat, and we'll wrap this thing up. Eric, I think we addressed this. Yes, Iowa goes to LA this year, a play at USC, so that will be a challenge. Kirk notoriously does not like trips to the West Coast, but that's the new Big Ten. Robert says, what was Penn State rated in 2021 when they came to Kinnick? Weren't they 4 and Iowa? They were 3 and Iowa was 4, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that right? Eric says, will Drake Kulik be on the Washed Up Walk-ons football season during the football season?
He has. So his whole thing in the beginning was like, I'm done. I'm not gonna, commit to this. Now, every once in a while, he's still in the group chat. Like, hey, we're gonna record tonight at 6:30. So he sees every time we're getting on to record, and like several times. Actually, tomorrow's episode, Drake is on. We had 2 earlier in the summer, back-to-back weeks that he popped on. So yeah, I think it will not be a lot, but if you had to ask me if it will be more than 0, yeah, he will make an appearance or 2 this year. It will not be a consistent or every week thing, but you'll hear from him once in a while.
Cade wants to know what your head shaving routine is.
Yeah, Cade doesn't even.
This must be a running joke because
it's just because I'm bald, and I actually wore the hat tonight just to promote the brand. But Cade's one of the true. He's like probably right. He's one of our great walk-on army.
We've never seen a bald man before.
I shave my head once on average every 2 days.
Okay. Are you a Brady Ross guy? You and Brady know each other?
Yeah, big Brady Ross guy.
So does he hop on your show too?
Not as often as I'd like him to. He acts like he's busy with his life, which is bullshit.
He's put some controversial tweets out there over the years, hasn't he?
He has gotten pretty vocal.
He's
Yeah,
kinda
during
risky.
yeah. He always chimes in when he thinks somebody has a stupid take. He's
Yep.
a smart guy, so it's always fun when he provides his opinion.
ZJ, question for Tyler: how long did y'all practice the fake field goal, the polecat? And yes, in answer to Robert's question, the trick plays. Were you involved in any others besides that one? I mean, you were involved in them, but
Yeah, not like for me.
Right.
Going all the way back to 2015 would have been our first one. The one you mentioned, we at the end of the half, I think we were supposed to kill it and just kick the field goal.
Why did that play happen?
Yeah, because we're like, fuck it, we'll do it.
But you got a field goal. How do you?
Yeah, but if the fake is called, and you got the chance and you're like, hey, it's on us, we could just run a fake right now.
I understand. Here's the problem.
We
I
won the game.
understand why Kirk ran the clock all the way down,
Mhm.
but it doesn't make sense from the perspective of you got the first down.
It didn't make sense at all, but
I mean, it made sense because it at least sold the fake. It's like nobody in the right mind is going to run the clock down and then not kick the field goal. You see what I'm saying? Like he couldn't call a timeout with 30 seconds left because
except for us.
Iowa State's going to be like, well, okay, they're not kicking. Why are they allowing us 20? I can see it from that perspective, but when you don't make it, when you don't score,
yeah,
it looks stupid.
And he almost did.
He almost did.
Yeah, that was one that. So half of that, and again, goes back to that leeway thing. Is like we just felt very confident in our team and scoring points back then, and so scoring obviously end goal on that play. Also part of it, like a big part of it, was we were trying to set something up for later in the game, and running a fake on them was actually going to help us do that, if I remember correctly. And so that's part of the reason we did it. And then the third one was like the look wasn't great, but they called it. So part of us was, I think it was literally just on me, Dylan, and Marshall. We're like, screw it, we're running it. Like we never get a chance to run a fake, we're running it. So I was in on that one. The next one would have been.
So LeVar didn't chew you out for that, for not coming out of that.
I don't remember. LeVar wasn't in charge back then. I think we did get yelled at, but it's okay.
Who was in charge in 15?
Chris White.
Okay, wow. That's I guess I'm aging myself then. I didn't remember 15. What? So he took over, and would he take over in 16 or 17?
LeVar took over special teams in 2016.
He wasted no time putting in those trick plays.
Yeah, full-time as a full-time special teams coordinator in 2017, but he had responsibilities in 2016. So that play against Iowa State, and then I think it was 2016 against Illinois. We ran that one I mentioned to Amani. So these are obviously just snaps where like I'm snapping it off center to like the up back, or for the Marshall one, I was actually like he starts and he runs. So I'm snapping it like almost on a 45-degree angle. Pretty proud about that one. And then the polecat, and gosh, was there any other that I'm forgetting? Yeah, at three or four. I don't know.
You mentioned the Epinesa one in 17.
Yeah, but I wasn't. Why
weren't you involved in that one? You would have been involved in that one at Michigan State. The throw to Epinesa, Rastetter to Epinesa.
Yeah, maybe I was. Yeah, I was.
For a first, it wasn't for a touchdown, but it was for a first down.
Yep. So that one too. So, yeah, like 4 or 5. It was cool.
Okay. And then how long did it take to prepare?
Oh, yeah. For the polecat specifically, again, they are week to week. Like it's based on the other team. So sometimes they literally go in that week and then they're gone because the other teams don't give you that look to potentially do that specific fake. But the polecat was one that we put in for the Northwestern game like 3 weeks before that. And it just so happened that it was sort of a more generalized, like, hey, if we get, it's such a weird thing with the formation that we split out to, that it's like, we have no idea what they're going to throw at us for a defensive look. So you could technically run it against anybody. And it stayed in the playbook for 3 weeks. quite literally went in for our game against Northwestern. Thought I was going to run it like first quarter. That was the plan. Like, because every fake has a spot where you'd like to run it. That fake was like, hey, we want to be in control, maybe up a touchdown. We'd like it to be the first half, yada, yada, yada. And then we end up running it like third quarter in a vital moment where we can like put the game away against Ohio State, national television. I'm thinking about all this as we run onto the field. Like, this was not when this play was supposed to be called. I asked like 3 or 4 different people, like, are we seriously this was called? We're running this play. Confirmation from everybody. So yeah, probably about 3 weeks. And Colton and I on our own probably practiced the timing of it 150 times. And every time he threw me a dart. And then I got a lob in the middle of the game. So it is what
Why
it is.
did he? Was it just because he got scared? Because
He was just trying to get it out and he shot putted it.
Just get it. Again, but like I said, he was on his back foot. I mean, he's a police, right?
I'm not saying what his job was easy. It just would have been nice from my perspective because I could have walked in.
Yeah. Does he ever come on the show?
He's never been on the show, but he actually just reached. I should have him on. For a while there, we gave him a good amount of crap on the show. He was like 2 years younger than us, so he was still in the program. And like for a while, I was like, man, he probably hates me now because we just crap on it. I tell him he sucks at throwing, and Drake crapped on him a lot too. But he just the other day commented on one of my posts. I put up a Instagram video of me snapping a football at 30 years old, and he was like, he commented on it and said, "Rockets just like always," or something like that. So I think we're still cool, and he would be a good guy to have on the show.
Yeah. Okay. Next question here from Noah. Will Mark, speaking of Gronowski, will he bring Iowa over the offensive hump this year? Kind of a general question.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count on any Iowa quarterback solely bringing the offense over the hump. I think collectively he's got a chance with an improved receiver group and an offensive line that I think will be maybe not quite as good on. I think they'll be better in the pass. I think they'll be better in pass pro this year. Cross your fingers. But your thoughts on Gronowski's impact?
It's going to be the question until we play the game. Like, is he actually good enough? Is he the guy? Is he the one? And the only thing you can look at is stats. I mean, I've got him pulled up. He had a 21 year where he had a knee injury, but like, man, you look at the amount of production he had. It's unbelievable. And I know FCS, but like averaged 5 interceptions a year. Like, just takes care of the ball, scores touchdowns, isn't afraid to run. Like, gives us that.
He's a good runner.
Great runner. Who knows? I think I go back to, I think the most important thing is he's a gamer. He's a veteran. He's played in Kinnick before. Didn't seem that scared when they came in then. Now he's going to be on our side. So like, I'm excited. I think he's going to be fine. I certainly think he provides us a floor that if he's healthy, it won't be his fault if we're doing bad, right? Yep. If that makes sense. Yep.
I agree with that totally. I think a lot of the offense is going to hinge on, and people aren't going to like hearing this because it's not a fluffy, cool thing to hear, but people don't remember how important that offensive line was last year.
Oh yeah.
We want to focus in on Caleb Johnson. I get it, but I think that offensive line, not just for the run game, but if the passing game is going to take a step forward, you have to buy Mark Gronowski or whoever the quarterback is more time. And
you got to be able to threaten with the run game. You have to.
Yeah, and I can be critical of Spencer, and I have. I've been critical of Spencer Petras. I've been critical of Deacon Hill. I've been basically everybody that's taken a snap at that position since the end of 2019, the USC game, the Holiday Bowl. But the reality is, pass pro has not been good. So if they got to be better, I think they will be. I would think that Jennings Dunker. I keep hearing about how he and Logan Jones are 2 of the 3 best offensive linemen in the Big Ten. Yeah. Well, if they're 2 of the 3 best offensive linemen in the Big Ten, Jennings Dunker better be a great pass protection guy. I know he, bulldoze guys, pancake guys. They need him at right tackle, and then they got to figure out left tackle because you lose Mason Richmond. I think Bryce George, the transfer from FC or from D2 will probably be that guy, but that's you could argue it is. I mean, I don't think it's an
Big
argument.
shoes to fill.
Important, yeah.
I mean, that guy's going to see some dudes that he didn't see at Sacramento State or wherever he went.
Saginaw was it? No, not Saginaw Valley. Now I'm totally forgetting where he went, but
it's like some.
Yeah, I was in Michigan. Same conference as Saginaw Valley.
He didn't see the DNs that he's about to see, but
that's right. But he's gonna again fall camp. You bring up fall camp. He wasn't here in the spring. Fall camp.
He's gonna get to see Herkett and Llewellyn all day.
Yep.
So
and Brian Allen and Yosei and so T Hink. Okay, let me because there was an inside joke that Tyler had. Let me address this one. So T Hink says, I keep seeing the kid posting in the comments on Instagram demanding a video of Quinn Schulte. Can we get a reason why that kid wants a video of a kid that graduated last year? Running joke from like 2 years ago when I didn't post a video that Quinn Schulte was returning for a final year of eligibility. And so that has become a running joke. So I joked around that I'm going to post some random video about Quinn Schulte. Maybe I'll get Quinn Schulte on the show. We'll just have Quinn Schulte on here talking Iowa football, and then we can lay that to rest.
We had him on.
He's a former walk-on, right?
Yeah, we had him on. Talked to him. It was good. I also forgot to say earlier out of the ad break, I've been under the kitchen, under Kinnick under the kitchen.
I have too. It's a good place.
It's
a cool place.
It's a wild place. It's something. It's
you ever seen anything like it?
No, it's like, I mean, I'm sure there's other things out there, but like it's pretty insane what he's turned that place into.
So Randy Engel getting a second plug. You can go over and check out Under the Kitchen on Facebook or online. Final question. This is a pretty generic one, but I guess it's a good one to kind of finish up with as we approach the 2-hour mark. Will the offense be better than expected, or will it digress?
It's really tough to answer those questions. Like, I know it's part of it. All these offensive questions though are like what's the expectation?
Right.
Like
that's
what
I was going to ask. What's
the other guy was like? Hey, can we get over the hump? What's the hump? What's the hump?
Talking hump of the passing game being pretty much crap.
But even then, like, how you have to quantify it, or else you can't answer it, right? So if you don't specify the hump, or whatever, then it's hard to answer that question. It's like, then it's just people saying, well, it's good enough or it's not.
So
right? So like, is the hump 200 passing yards a game? Is it?
I was going to say last year if we're just going to look at general stats, total offense, I think they went from 130 to like 100. Scoring offense, they went from 20 or whatever they were Brian's last year to, were they over 30 last year? At the end, I don't know where they were.
Ooh, I don't know. Were we even at 20? I don't know. I think we ended up right short of 30.
They were in They were in the team.
It was like 17 or something. and we shot up to I think 29 point something. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, can they slash those if in total offense? Okay, that they were 90 at the end last year, I'll have to verify that. But if they were 90, can they end up top 50 this year? That would be quite a jump.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The other thing is of course you don't like to hear this, but Iowa isn't going to be number one, right? And they're not even going to be just by style of play. And we don't need to be number one. Number one in offense doesn't necessarily mean that you're that you're the best football team, right? I think the ceiling, the best we could ever be at Iowa with a balanced team who's going to win a specific way with field position and turnovers and great defense. You're talking a ceiling of 35 or 40, right? So now
you're talking about total offense.
Total offense.
Yeah.
And we moved I think we moved up into what was our total offense ranking? Up into the 90s?
I can find it.
130 to 90th or something. And our scoring offense went from 130th to 67th. And really, scoring offense is what we care about. So
they went from 15.5, as Kelvin said here, to close to 30.
Jesus. I mean, almost doubled it. So, yeah, I mean, it's a thing where, and that's going to be different for everybody. I think it's, for me, it's really, really a subjective thing. It's when we run out there or it's third down against anybody, do we feel like we have a chance? Does it feel like we have a chance? And do we put together a fair amount of occasional drives where we're beating people down and we go and we score? Because for those 2 years there, those were the two big things. We could never put together a drive that we could sustain offense. And when it was really needed, and the biggest moment was when Cooper's thing was called a fair catch, but it wasn't. And fine, right? We've got the ball with like 40 seconds left on the 40, on their 40.
Fine. Not fine at all.
And everybody in the stadium and watching on TV at home was like, we're fucked. Like, it's over.
We're done.
It's over. We need points, and we're not going to go anywhere. And we're in their territory. 1st and 10.
Yeah.
That's
I believe didn't Deacon proceed to take a sack on it?
Something. I don't know.
Something dumb, but yeah. And by the way, I just look at it. They were not as high at the end of the year in total.
No, they weren't.
They were at 117. But I want to make sure, if I'm abundantly clear, they were so bad the year prior that not only were they bottom 2, but it was like them and UMass or UConn. They were so far away from 129 or 130. They were so far away from the next team up. Going to 117 is significant in year 1.
Yeah.
And
I remember looking at that. Like, the second worst team out of 130 was like 40 or 50 yards more per game.
Exactly.
And then everybody else was like a yard or 2 jumps to the next level. It was like, wow, we're that bad. So, yeah, I don't know. You got to define your own hump.
They'll definitely improve collectively year 2 in the system. More Tim Lester guys, better work in the portal. I don't think they'll be as dominant on the ground. I don't think that's not breaking any news there. But I think collectively they'll be better, and they should be. If they're not significantly better in the passing game, big disappointment in my mind. Big disappointment. I can't imagine a scenario where we can somehow find a way to excuse that, even with injury, because they dealt with injury last year, and this year they built the room into a deeper group, and the wide receiver room's a year older. A lot of those guys were 1st or 2nd year guys last year. So yeah, good stuff. Tyler, it's been fun these last 2 hours. We'll do this again.
Absolutely.
We'll plan. Hey, we got fall camp starting in a week. Right? Is it the first? Am I right in that, or is it this week?
Well, I never know anymore, because our camps used to be like 3.5 weeks long, and then
It's got to be the week after.
I think it's the week after now.
But Big Ten Media Days in the books, and of course we'll have Iowa Media Day on the 8th. We have the open practice on the 9th, and then football at the end of August. So, and I saw a graphic on social media Wednesday that this past Thursday was the last Thursday in like I don't know how many months where there won't be football.
Yeah.
So, I guess we got preseason NFL football starting this next week.
I believe so.
And we'll be back at it. So, folks, be sure you go over to the Washed Up Walk-ons. I'm sure everybody here is already subscribed over there. Be sure you subscribe here. And
we're gonna have you on.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're gonna have Corey on for all listening. We're gonna bring him on.
You can start ripping me. So I took a couple of shots at you, so you can.
I don't think there were any shots at me, and I don't have anything to rip you about.
I ripped you for yards after catch. That was sort of tongue in cheek.
I
said Colton threw it behind you.
For anybody that ever brings it up, is like, man, it's like, I caught a pass against Ohio State, never dropped a ball in my college career.
It was still a pretty famous. Yeah, that's true.
18-yard catch, 18 yards per catch average.
18-yard. You've looked this up, or do you just knew that? That's
I got 18 yards on that play. I got down to the 2. We were on the 20. I got 1 catch for 18 yards, so I average 18. Not many people say they average 18 yards a catch in college.
And real quick, was there, if that were the NFL, or if college had the NFL rule, would you have had time to get back up? Or no?
It would have been close.
Was there somebody behind you that could have tagged you?
Yeah. 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 There was somebody.
Imagine, in the NFL, you're trying to crawl up to the goal line. So
I think I could have crawled there.
By the way, my favorite memory of the special teams units, probably, I'm thinking when you were there, 15. I'm thinking 15 to 17. But my favorite memory was probably the Marshall Kane 57-yard field goal, which we haven't talked about. Yeah. And then I just remember seeing, I think it was you and George Kittle, just really, this really almost like from a Disney movie.
I wish I had that clip.
And
it's somewhere. On
him embracing you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's just on the TV copy. Like if you just watch the bottom of the screen,
you can see it at the bottom of the screen.
So what happened was on that play, like when you're that far out, and we knew Marshall could make that, but there's a chance, who knows with the wind or how he hits it, that it falls short, and they put a guy back there.
Yep.
if he catches that, like we now have to turn into the coverage team, right? So what George and I were doing was we snap it, get up, run, get out, and then like go create a net so that he can't return the thing. And it went through, but George and I had ran down the field 20 yards. George turned around with his big wingspan, put his arms up, and I was kind of following, and I just jumped into his arms like a little like my little girl does today. And
yeah, exactly.
I'm just in his arms. Like it was one of the
he was waiting for you though. He
was one of the
he slapped his hands together and he was ready.
It was one of the more joyous moments. Very cool, very cool, underrated, like low key.
Y'all almost killed a cheerleader that night, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that took some hits. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Tyler. Well, we appreciate you coming on here, and I think we're all excited for football to be back and fall camp, and we'll get together and do this again soon.
Can't wait.
All right, folks. For Tyler Kluver, I'm Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.